I am success wrapped in skin, ever best within, even when I just begin. Call it a win, I am just compromised with sin, summarized by the yang and the yin, familiarized with gin. I am a spiritual miracle with empirical lyrics full of physical material that manifests the metaphysical. I am unequivocal with critical acclaim. I've been through that difficult, insane shit, spits full of that bang shit. I can't be restrained, bitch. I am potent like cocaine. I am unashamed. I am empire. I am inspired to gain. My entire grain is preordained. My dichotomy is legalities mixed with criminology, cause I am an American prodigy. I am high quality. Probably I am close to sovereignty. The God of me about to make me an anthology. I am amazing. I am captivating.
What up, though? What up, though? Sasha, you in the house. Randy in the house. Episode 17 of Wealthy Thoughts. We are back. Today, we're going to continue our discussion on 15 things that 15 secrets of billionaires. Again, from the A-Lux video that I was watching. But Sasha, you know, you've had some stuff going on today. Tell us a little bit about what your day consisted of with business and stuff.
Just business as usual, you know.
Just business.
Yeah, a little bit of mingling, real estate. You know, what don't I do? I don't mean to say it like that, but
yeah, no, you meant to say it like that,
right?
you meant to say it like that. I got what you're trying to do,
right? It's like, yeah. Anyway,
okay.
I mean, you know, like my business is a one-stop shop, right? So I'm just I'm doing everything, trying to figure out.
So was this like a workshop?
You said, was this a workshop?
Yeah.
What no, it's a networking event later.
It's a networking event? Okay.
Yeah. So I have this new client that's in Ballantyne, which is a suburb of Charlotte.
Okay.
Really nice area that I've been wanting to spend more time in. And so then there was another event that was in Fort Mill, South Carolina, which was like 20 minutes away. So since I was already in South Charlotte, I just went out there and mingled, you know.
Okay. Cool. Well, look, you know, after much deliberation before we got on here, you were right. We stopped at number 6. So I'm willing to say that I don't feel like I was wrong because I didn't know where we stopped at. I was just but you were right, number 6. And so we'll go on to number 7. And it says every new billionaire turns other millionaires into billionaires. Right. They give the example of Peter Thiel, which was the first outside investor of Facebook. He invested for $500,000 and he got 10.2% of the company. And so when it went public, he sold 2/3 of his shares for $28 million.
Okay.
So that $500,000 turned into $28 million. And so what do you think about that?
Smart man. I wish I could do that.
Definitely smart man. I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like investing when it comes to like stock markets, IPOs, whatever, you know, private equity, you have to really know what you're doing. So either he's like, who's that guy that everybody, Warren Buffett?
Yeah.
Is just a genius at these things, or either he has great financial advisors that can analyze, you know, deals. Because I feel like I'm always coming in after it's kind of done what it's going to do. Like Nvidia, do you remember that stock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just started soaring through the roof, and then by the time I bought it,
it was soaring down.
I got you. Thinking it would go back up. But
yeah, I got you. I mean, I was the last episode you were talking about investing, like if you were talking about property and investing 50,000 here and getting 10%, you know, taking 10% of the deal or whatever. And even in something like that, even though that's a small thing, I mean, let's say he did 500,000 and made 28 million. So maybe your 50,000 can turn into 2.8 million. You know, you just never know. Yeah, especially if you could do it in something like not a hotel, but like a bunch of apartments, possibly a hotel, something where you can get a bunch of units at one time and then upgrade those units, and now your 10.2 turns into something else. So yeah, that was that one. Number 8 was less than 5% of a billionaire's worth is liquid. So the thought process that they just running around with a bunch of money and swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck is all cartoon. Most of their money is put into other assets and stuff. It also talks about them in that segment. It talked about them not selling assets and using it as collateral. As far because I know you do accounting and everything, and talk about that as collateral. Talk about using your assets as collateral.
It's funny you put me on the spot like that. I'm thinking like usually for the businesses that I work with, they're using assets to generate more money. You know, in terms of like maybe you have machinery that is producing a product for you that you're able to have more output in sales. So I don't do a lot with using assets as collateral. But I do know that there's this, and I might have mentioned them before, there's this website called Banking Truths, and I am not endorsing anybody, but they do have a lot of information. My net worth isn't large enough to even research as much as I would like to, but they talk about like when you have like a nice stock portfolio, being able to leverage that as collateral for loans and stuff. So instead of having to cash in to get whatever you need, you can use that to secure the debt. So I would assume that's probably what they're talking about. I don't know how that works, how much you actually have to have in order to, I guess it would depend on how much you're trying to borrow.
Yeah. So in this section, they talked about that also in the video. Okay. One of the things they said, I'm reading it, and that's why I'm looking over here. One of the things they said was using worth, which was assets, and they were talking about stocks too. That same thing you just said, to get a line of credit from the bank. So they'll use those stocks. They won't sell the stocks, but they'll use that stock as a collateral to get a line of credit from the bank. I remember Robert Kiyosaki talking about how right around 2009, 2008, when everything kind of broke and got crazy, because he had so many properties or whatever and had done so much business with this one bank, he just used all the properties that he had as collateral, and they gave him so many millions of dollars where he was able to go buy a bunch of properties or whatever, and all these properties that had basically folded and went under foreclosure, he went and got them.
That's smart.
And so, but he was able to use the assets that he already had as collateral, and made that liquid instead of actually trying to sell off the stuff he had to make it liquid and stuff like that. He used that line of credit. So although they don't have liquid funds, what they do is use the assets they have to get more liquid. And instead of selling the assets, they use them as collateral to get the liquid.
Right. It's some sort of form of like maybe a secured loan, so to speak.
Yeah. Like a secured loan.
When you're building your credit, like I remember I had a savings account at a credit union and I needed a loan. And they're like, yeah, we'll give you one if you secure the balance in your savings account.
Going back to the last video when we were talking, I think we talked about 50 Cent and something he said in one of his books. And that was kind of like what he was saying with that $1 million. He said, he using that $1 million to secure the other loan.
Yeah.
And so he has $1 million in there. He's saying, hey, give me a loan for $1 million. Use the $1 million that I have in here to secure the loan. Interesting ways that people with money move. I know 50 Cent is not a billionaire, but he is in the hundreds of millions.
Right.
And it's just interesting how they figure out different ways to move. Because, again, we always talk about on our end, because we're really a lot of times just talking about consumerism. We're always talking about not getting debt, and they're doing everything. They getting debt to use it to make more money.
I think that's the only way you should be using debt. But we don't. We use it to like buy cars, clothes, and whatever else.
But the main way to use debt is to get assets.
Facts. Not liabilities. If you remember that, you'll be good.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, how 50 Cent was able to secure a loan for $1 million based on $1 million that he had in the bank account. Like you can do that with a smaller scale.
Yeah,
Like, so for instance, say you have 5,000 in the bank account and you want to use 5,000 to invest in starting your business, and say, hopefully, if you're going to do that and use your savings account as a secured form of collateral, then you have a really good business plan that you're going to make more than the 5,000 fairly quickly, because as you pay back the loan, it frees up the money in the account.
Yep.
So it's not that, it's not on hold anymore, so to speak. Because when they do secure your bank account, you don't have access to those funds. Like, it's literally frozen until you pay it back.
True.
You have to pay it all back. It's like, as you make a payment, your savings is done. But I feel like that's one way to leverage, even if you feel like you don't have a lot of money and you don't think you can do it. I mean, a lot of people invest. Like, you can get some franchises out here for as little. I know Chick-fil-A doesn't accept everybody, but like, their franchise is like $10,000.
Yeah, so let's talk about Chick-fil-A since we own Chick-fil-A.
Okay, what you gonna say? I know people don't like them; they think they're discriminatory.
No, I don't care about that. That's their business. I do have my thoughts on that, but I ain't got nothing to do. This we're gonna leave that out of it.
Business.
What I'm gonna say is that I sat in on a franchising meeting with Chick-fil-A. Okay. Chick-fil-A franchise is not, do it if that's what you want to do, but really, if you're doing a franchise with Chick-fil-A, you're taking on another job, and most likely you're not going to have you can't have another job. You're gonna have to work that job. Right. The other thing about franchising with them is the reason why it's only $10,000 because you never really own the franchise. Right. If you die, it doesn't move to your family. Chick-fil-A just takes it back over. So you can say you're the owner, but in many ways you're not really the owner. It's not like when you franchise with Burger King or McDonald's or something like that. With Chick-fil-A, when you franchise with them, they pick. That's why it's only $10,000. They pick the spot that it's going to be in for the most part. You can tell them, kind of where you want it at, but they buy the land, they pick the spot, they do the building and everything, and then you run their store. And there's never a time, to be honest with you, I almost feel like it almost sounds like sharecropping to me. There's never a time there's never a time where you actually own the business. At least from what I got out of that meeting. There's never a time where you actually are the true owner of that business. It's always really theirs. And you can only franchise 2 of those at the most, I believe. After you get one up and started, they'll allow you to do another one. But like, you can't have your family in there running it. It's always got to be you. And then, like I said, if something happens to you, your family can't come in and take over for you and they would have to have started it with you or been on the original, like you and your wife on the original thing. And if something happened to you, now your wife could take over. But once that's done, once she passes away, it's still not going to your kids. Right. That was the main thing that kind of stuck out to me when they said that basically, for me, they didn't use that word, this wording, but for me, it's not a legacy. It's not nothing you can move on into a legacy. It's nothing you can leave to your kids. So not shitting on Chick-fil-A. Not the food is great. All that good stuff. I remember when I first started coming to Atlanta, we didn't have Chick-fil-A's in Detroit. And so now it's Chick-fil-A's in Detroit now. Okay. But when I first started coming down here to Atlanta, we didn't have Chick-fil-A's in Detroit. So every time I came down here, I had to get some Chick-fil-A. And now that I'm down here, I it's like, okay, it's Chick-fil-A. So, but I mean, I did sit in on a franchise meeting with it for that very reason that you said. When I said $10,000, that's shoot, I got that. We can make this happen. Right. And then when I realized, like, oh, I'm gonna have to quit the job that I like, take on another job that I probably not gonna like as much, and you most likely going to succeed in it. They're going to do everything they can to get you to succeed. But again, you work for Chick-fil-A.
That makes sense.
You work for Chick-fil-A. So that was that one. Going on to number 9. Number 9, it says real money is made in a crisis. For a billionaire, real money is made in a crisis. So, like we always say, like people always say, if there's a war going on, someone's making money. And normally it's multi-millionaires and billionaires. It's top 1%, right? It was always talking about, it also said that they think in terms of decades. They don't think in terms of what's going to happen a week from now, 2 weeks from now. Many times, depending on how your money is, you might not even be thinking about 2 weeks from now. You think about today. What can I do today? Do I have enough for food for the kids? And do I have enough for gas to get to work tomorrow? But they think in terms of decades. I remember reading a book where they were talking about Japan. Companies in Japan have made business plans for a century-long business plans for 100 years. Now, of course, that's going to change over the 100 years, but they have made thought processes of how they want this business to grow over the next 100 years. So when you start about thinking in terms of decades, that's interesting. Another thing that they said, and that is that recessions, when we are in a recession for a billionaire, it's like Black Friday for them.
Exactly.
When it's a recession, that's when they decide to go out and start buying stuff.
Yeah, I think you made that point earlier when you was talking about Robert Kiyosaki, how to sell his properties where other people were. Well, I feel like a lot of people were forced to because they didn't have as strict mortgage lending practices, and so they were just giving out loans, and so people defaulted on loans. So they had no choice, but he took that as an opportunity to, hey, like, let me get a deal on a house. I know when I was looking to purchase a house in 2015. And I was just doing my research. When I know where I was living at the time, it was these condos in Atlanta and Sandy Springs. And I was like, well, what if I just buy something out here because I like it? They were going for like 150. But when I looked at the history, they had sold like in 2000, like maybe just a couple of years before for like 75,000.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
If you don't know what you don't know.
2017. 2016, 17. The last owners of the home that I bought the house in 2016, 17, somewhere around there. And at the time, they bought the house for about $68,000. And I bought the house for a little more, a little less than 300.
See.
A lot more than 68. A lot more than 68,000. So,
because as I said, 150. I'm like, I bet people are probably like, I wish I could find a condo.
Yeah. That's the thing. They wish they could find a condo for 150 that they wanted to stay in. That is, there's some out there, but I don't know if they're going to want to stay in. So that's interesting because, like they said, thinking in terms of decades, it takes me back to Detroit. How there were a lot of investors that bought a lot of land in downtown Detroit in the 80s and late 80s, early 90s, when downtown Detroit was like falling apart. Stuff was closed and stuff like that. And now you go up to just 10 years ago when they started building downtown Detroit back up, even though they was starting before that. But 10 years ago, since then, it's really been booming. Actually, in 2005, they brought the football team back to Detroit, downtown Detroit. Now they got you built a new stadium down there for the baseball team, and now you got a stadium for the Pistons, the basketball team. Everything is downtown, and those people that were sitting on that land in the 80s, they made a killing.
Yeah,
they don't still own it and just renting it out. But if that's the case, they still making a killing. So it's just interesting thinking in the terms of decades. They bought that land in the 80s and sat on it for years.
You have to. So when you ask about accounting, one thing I would say is a lot of times when we are analyzing a business's financial position, we are analyzing and seeing, like, is it considered a going concern? Meaning, like, you don't start a business typically with the hopes of, oh, we're just going to do this for 10 years and then we're going to close down. It's like you want to be able to stay in business an unlimited amount of time. So the fact that you say, like, it's good to think about that, but the fact that you're saying Japan like is already planning for 100 years, that's when you're really going to be a going concern, you know. So
no doubt, no doubt. So number 10 says that billionaires all have experts in minimizing risk and increasing. They are experts in minimizing risk and increasing returns. Basically, they have experts that do that. So they have a team. They build teams around them, legal teams, accounting teams, accounting your department. So they build those teams around them. They surround themselves with experts on different things, executive coaches, trainers, and it's crazy because a lot of times these executive coaches that they building around are not billionaires, but these coaches some kind of way teach them how to maneuver in a way to where it can work for them. Kind of like, for instance, I mean, there's nowhere in the world that we think that I can't think of his name right now, but the guy that trained Michael Jordan, there's nowhere in the world that we would think that he would be able to beat Michael Jordan in the basketball game, because he couldn't. But he also was his trainer and got him prepared for basketball to be one of the greatest that ever played. So the person doesn't have to be a billionaire or be the best at what they don't have to be you, but they just got to be able to know how to get you to where you need to go.
Right.
Everybody needs a team, which is why I asked you to do the show with me, because I knew that you would do right.
I like how you threw that in there.
I knew that you would do right. I knew this would work.
My expertise or something.
Yeah, I knew this would work. Number 11. Few billionaires are direct to consumer. Most of the money is in enterprise deals. So basically, few billionaires have businesses that go straight to the consumer. Most of them are doing enterprise deals. They have other businesses buying from them.
Right.
I want to say one of the examples they gave was just in their business. They talked about being with Google.
Okay.
And using Google for their emails and everything. So when they talked about using Google for their emails, then they said, okay, they have Google probably makes a good 40,000 or something off a year off of them because they use them for emails for everybody in their business.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting, just thinking about that. Like, I have a Google subscription for, and I have different things that I use it for, and I have different subscriptions, but then they have subscriptions with businesses where they may charge me $9.99, but they charging that business $100 per person or $200 per person.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too. Number 12, most billionaires don't start from the bottom.
Okay.
Most billionaires don't start from the bottom. So they gave some examples. Elon Musk's dad was a multimillionaire.
Okay.
Jeff Bezos' parents gave him $250,000 to start Amazon.
Yeah. Perfect.
Bill Gates' mom came from wealth. Steve Jobs' parents were not considered necessarily wealthy, but they wasn't broke.
Yeah. Oprah's the only one that started from the bottom.
Who?
Oprah.
Yeah, for the most part, maybe Jay-Z.
You know what the common denominator is, but we're not going to talk about that.
No, we talk about it. Let's talk about it, because that's important, right?
Yeah.
Because we have to be honest that while I'm taping this for everybody and would love for some of our less melanated friends to come in and listen to what we got to say, a lot of people that's going to watch this is going to be Black people. And the fact of the matter is most Black people are starting from the proverbial bottom. But I would say this, there's something else that they talked about in the video about being at the bottom. And they were saying, hey, if you got a phone, if you get an education, if you're able, you're not all the way at the bottom. you're still in a place where you're able to do things. So a lot of us still, even though, like for me, example, my mom was a blue collar worker and everything. And yeah, I started from the bottom compared to Elon Musk, of course, or Donald Trump or somebody like that. But I'm not starting from the bottom compared to Jay-Z per se. Me and him pretty much in the same boat, single parent mother. Both of them had jobs where they made pretty good money, and we both lived in the hood. And so, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He used his talents and he became a billionaire. I'm nowhere near a billionaire, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, sometimes you have to look at where you're coming from and say, okay, is this truly the bottom, or can I use the resources that I have to get me something? I ain't saying you're going to be a billionaire, but the reason why we're sharing these secrets, like I said last time, is because we do want you to open your mind. There was this old movie called Total Recall where he said, open your mind, Quaid. Open your mind, Quaid. So we want you to open your mind. We want you to expand your thought process and think about, and for people that read the Bible, says he's able to give you exceedingly abundantly what you can ask or think, exceedingly abundantly above what you can ask or think. And I think I have a pretty good imagination. So if you can do better than that, then I think that we should be pushing for that within ourselves as well. But that's just my thought process on it. I do want to delve into that, but I don't want to not go into, those people that I named are all Caucasians. Those people I named are all Caucasians, and they all had something. Yeah. And again, we can go from the fact of the matter, our people as a people started from the bottom because we were 400 years behind when we really started getting some wealth. So we could definitely do that.
And we have challenges, and I think that's why it's important that we need to be serious about obtaining wealth. Yes. So the next generation doesn't have to start from the bottom.
Yes, so. It's you have to at least try to make it better for the next generation.
Right.
And that's the goal. So even if that's just if where you're at is just getting your kids an education, because you might not have had that education, then there you go. Start there. And I'm not saying that education in the sense that going to college means you're going to be wealthy. I'm saying in the sense that it does open doors that may not have been open for you. There's doors that I know that I have been able to open more because of getting more education. And I tell people all the time, if you all I need is a little crack, just give me a little crack in the door. If I can get my foot through there, I can get the rest of the way through.
Right.
That's all I need. Just a little crack in the door. So yeah, I found that interesting though that they brought up Elon Musk, because everybody always try to act like Elon Musk came from nothing and he just became this big billionaire, but his dad was a multimillionaire.
True, but I do feel like you do have some people that they have money, they have resources, and it's a little bit easier for them. But I mean, I know you quoted the Bible, and that's usually something I would do. But I want to quote Lil Wayne for a minute.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
When he say a broke man is an optimist, right? Like I think about that a lot because I feel like growing up.
Say a broke man is what?
An optimist.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like man, human, whatever, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that is what I feel like. If you don't have anything, you have no choice. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I was going to say you have no choice but to think about how you can change your situation if you're not happy with it. I guess some people are complacent. They kind of accept that, it is what it is. But I think that's really the difference between struggling and surviving versus
it is
to strive, right? To thrive. So
it is. And it is about trying to thrive and trying to, like you said, trying to survive, trying to thrive, trying to be better than what you are. Every day you're supposed to, I know we kind of getting off now, but let's talk about it. Every day you're supposed to get better. Every day you're supposed to strive to get better. You know, it's kind of funny because we just live in a different time now. I remember my mother used to tell, and I'm quite sure your mother and father probably said the same thing to you. You know, you got to be 10 times better just to be on par, or just to be on par with what they think you are. You got to be 10 times better. And it's not saying that you worse than them. It's just automatically saying that the thought process is that you're worse. So you already got to be 10 times better just to be right there, just for people to see that to say that you're equal.
Right.
And I always tell my son this, I'm like, and it's not that way no more. A lot of times for y'all, all y'all got to do is show up. If you show up, a lot of times you just in showing that you almost better than everybody else, because a lot of these people ain't showing up, and that's black or white. A lot of people just are not showing up to do just the basic minimum.
Right.
And so, you know, I just say, show up, you know, wake up, show up, do the best you can do, and try to figure out along the way, how can you get better every day? Every day should be a thought process of, what can I do better? How do I do this better? How do I make myself more viable in the marketplace? How do I make myself more, give myself more ability to make more money, give myself more ability to take care of my family, give myself more ability to take care of me.
Right. No, and I mean, honestly, it's a blessing that you are able to be that for your children, because a lot of parents don't ever, like, they're just trying to figure it out for themselves, and they don't even really have any advice to give their kids. And it's not like, I think a lot of times we feel like, oh, well, I'm not doing this, I can't really tell you what to do because I'm trying to figure it out. But you can share what you've learned. You just said, like, that work ethic alone can get you a lot further than a lot of other people. So, you know, just the nuggets of life, so they don't have to go through the same, you know, challenges. I mean, of course, we all got to learn from our own mistakes sometimes. We don't learn from people telling us. I've already been there, but at least, you know, through lessons, and be like, you know, this is what my dad was talking about. You know, at least you have those things.
I remember David Banner talking about some, and one it was, I don't know how long ago it was, but he talked about how he has the right to change. Exactly. And the thing is, he was like, you know, what I'm learning today, I may learn something new tomorrow. So it's like, you know, I've said things to my son that he said, well, Dad, you didn't. I was like, yeah, I've changed. I've found something new that I was wrong on this. And so it's not that I'm being a hypocrite or anything. It's now that I'm telling you, hey, I thought this way. Now I think this way. And
I have new information.
I found new information. I found something that was better. Or I found something that better suits what we're trying to do right now. And so it doesn't mean that you were wrong the first time, but it means that whatever you're doing, it don't suit you at this moment.
Right. And I can't remember if that was already one of the tips, but it sounds like the pivot. Like, you can't be afraid to pivot. Like, you have to try something, and then, you know, you measure it. Is this working?
I don't know if that was one of the tips, but
I was reading a lot, so that might be something else I was reading. But
it might have been. So we had a chick. I don't know why I say a chick, but I ain't mean it in a derogatory way when I said it. But we had a female on here, and she does mentoring and stuff like that. This was when my sister was on, my dear sister Tracy was on here with me, and we had her name was Michelle Kofer, and she called herself the Pivot Her.
Okay.
And that was the name of her, Pivot Her, PIVOTHER, because she did, you know, she focused on helping women create businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was her main thing, like, figure out how to pivot, figure out how to move differently, figure out what you need to be doing to get to where you're trying to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So number 13, most industry tycoons get wealthy by exploiting slave labor.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that was one of them. So they went into a little bit of a dark side of it, and they kind of explained it as they went. They said, hey, everything that you see is not good. And so that a lot of industry tycoons are exploiting slave labor to get lower pay, have to pay lower and make a bigger profit. And they talked about the cobalt mines over in Africa where there's child labor being used and stuff. And the thing was in the video, they kind of challenged you, like, remember, you're using these phones and these things that are being used, are being built by child labor and almost like slave labor. They went there. They did.
You're right. I have a question for you though. So
Okay.
To speak on that, when it comes to like child labor and sweatshops and all that type of stuff, I do agree that that's just wrong. I understand that people are still going to do it. And a lot of times we don't know that we're supporting a business that does that.
We don't.
But for businesses that are doing that, I feel like that's morally, ethically wrong. And, you shouldn't be doing that.
So let's look at it like this. Because
they're worried about the bottom line. I get that.
They're worried about the bottom line. I'm not even going that far with it. I'm going to say this because the quote unquote thought process behind these quote unquote tariffs was that the tariffs were going to come in and get businesses to come back to America.
Okay.
These businesses have not come back to America, especially when the main thing that we hear is 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs over the last, 3 months? Is that the main thing? Something like that, or last 2 months, or whatever that was. Mm-hmm. So we've been hearing that a lot. And so obviously these businesses are coming back, right? But the reason why they went overseas is because they could get cheaper labor. And then they could bring it back here. And the thing is that no matter how much tariffs we do, I can go into a whole thought process about tariffs. I've always said this, and I'm gonna continue to say it, that when Black people in this country start figuring out how different ways to make money, the rules change. Okay. And drop shipping and things like that since 2019 has been a big thing for a lot of Black entrepreneurs making money. And what ended up happening is then we get tariffs. So now it's hard for them to drop ship because those smaller businesses can't absorb that tariff cost. But big businesses can. So the tariffs is not hurting them. They still making a profit when they still send a job over there to be made and they bring it back. They bring the product back. So still making a profit even though they paying a tariff.
Well, that's why you need multiple streams of income. And I hate to say that and sound insensitive, but I mean, that's when you were talking about analyzing risk and mitigating risk. Mm-hmm. That's one of those things. Because even before we started talking about tariffs, I mean, import-export tax. I mean, at the end of the day, these are just things that you have to like plan and prepare for. But my question was, I feel like it's wrong with the child labor and all of that. But how do you feel about, there are a lot of companies marketing virtual assistants, like VAs from overseas in the Philippines, and paying them like $9 to $10 an hour. So to be honest with you, that's more than minimum wage here in North Carolina. I'll say that. But do you feel like that's still some form of exploitation, even though you're paying them more than what, like, they can live good in that country for that amount of money?
So it is, but so
you're providing a way of life for them and their family.
You are.
You're also, I guess, taking jobs away from people.
Oh, and you're taking jobs away from people over here. So they're virtual assistant jobs. I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, if I do a virtual assistant, I'm probably gonna try to use an American company with American workers, right? And this is the reason why, because I hate calling someone and they say, hey, and they say this is John, or they use some American name, but they have the heaviest accent you ever heard in your life. And I know that's not your name. And that already starts the conversation off bad for me, because I'm like, you just lied to me. So anything else you say from here is probably a lie. So that starts the conversation off bad for me from the get-go. And then A lot of times, like you said, it's easy. A lot of wholesalers and real estate people, they use these companies.
Yeah.
They go on Fiverr and they use these companies and stuff like that. I don't know if I want to necessarily say that that's morally unethical, but I would say this. I would definitely tell the people that if I was going to use a company, I'd be like, hey, stop making up these names. Don't say you John. You're not John. I know you're not Mark. Just
So
say
you
who you are. Say who you're representing. Huh?
So you want them to say a name you don't know how to pronounce?
Quite sure. Hey, and let's stop this because you know people always say they on especially white folks. They always talk. I can't pronounce that name, but we supposed to be able to pronounce Washroshki and stuff like that. Come on, man. Let's y'all can pronounce that. You can pronounce whatever name. I don't even want to say no name and be
right. Yeah, I don't either.
But I'm just saying, like, because I can't say LaQuisha. The girl name is LaQuisha. You can say her name.
Yeah, I mean that's easy. I'm talking about like
that's easy for us, but they be trying to act like it ain't, and they can say them people name too.
I think it's easy for us because for the most part, it follows the English language and the sounds, like how I forgot what the syntax. That's what they call it, okay. Right? But when you're talking about
using college education.
Well, that's because I studied Spanish and we had a whole class talking about syntax, right? But like when you get to some of these other countries, like let's just say I'm going to give India as an example, and I'm not trying to be offensive or anything, but sometimes it's like certain words or accents or like because you can say, oh, you know, nice meeting you. What's your name? And then they can tell you and you say it back, but then they'll say it again, like you're not quite having the same inflection. So it's almost like instead of you hear like them wanting to hear their name.
I mean, like my last name is Graham. But normally if I'm on a Graham.
Graham. An example of that, like right. So you can be like
Randy Graham. And I just say this is he because I know who you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what you're trying to say. I'm not about to sit up here and play that game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's you know, that becomes too much. Like, can I speak to Randy Graham? And I'm no, my name is Graham. And they trying to say it. I'm not doing all that. That's just too much. I get what you're trying to say. It's not that big of a deal.
I want to go.
But again, that's why I wouldn't. Again, that's why I wouldn't use a virtual assistant or a personal assistant from another country because of those things, unless I was doing business in another country. If I'm doing business in your country, then I'm probably going to use people that talk like you because I don't talk like you. But if I'm doing business here, I need to use somebody that speaks English. Okay. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, we might be able to get away with a little bit of a Hispanic accent with it. You know, I mean, so I guess let's put it this way. Like, would I be if I was trying to buy a house from if I was trying to buy a house from a hillbilly in the sticks of
watch it now, I'm from the sticks.
In the sticks of wherever, I don't care, just anywhere down south where the twang is real hard.
Okay.
And I was trying to buy from a white hillbilly from. Would I be wrong if I got another white hillbilly to talk to him? Like, am I exploiting it or am I doing?
Look, I don't know. I think another reason why I feel like I'm like equal opportunity employer is because, like I said, I took Spanish, so I feel like I can understand accents a lot better.
Okay.
And like, you know, I'm like, I actually would like to have a Hispanic virtual assistant because I'm like, yeah, I need to practice my Spanish. Like, you know, correct me, help me. I don't know. I think I'm always somebody who likes to learn different cultures and all of that. But no, I get it. And also, the thing is, like, my family is so country. So I feel like, yeah, I get it. It's hard to even understand what people are saying. Sometimes even in my own family, I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you. My grandpa was telling me this story. And I guess I'm going to say the name, but he was talking about my great aunt's husband. I never met him. He passed away before I was born. His name was George Fonville. But when I was talking to my grandpa and I'm listening to him tell me the story, he kept saying George. I swear it sounded like he's saying George Foreman. And I'm like, he don't know George Foreman. Like, who was he talking about? But I guess he was saying George Foreman. But it's like I can't even say it. But it was like after a while, I was just like,
yeah, people sometimes people have problems. I have problems saying some things. I have problems pronunciating things and getting the word out and things like that. It is what it is, right? I mean, what I will say is I try my best to, be able to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, if I go to Cuba today, I don't know that language. I don't know the language. And when I talk, they're gonna be looking at me like, "What are you talking about?" And when they talk, I'm gonna be looking at them like, "What are you talking about?" So yeah, it would behoove me to have somebody that could translate for me, right? Or have a phone or something that could translate for me, and I could talk to the phone and hold it up and
You gotta just talk to more people because I mean, after a while, to me, it kind of sounds the same to me. Like I
talk to a lot of people. It don't sound the same. I always say, I think, we always talk about how Black people code switch.
Okay.
And depending on who we on the phone with or whatever is how our voice inflection and different things we do. Especially people in our generation and above. New generation, not as much, but our generation above, we code switch. And I had never seen or never thought, and let me take that back. I had never thought that white people did that, but I actually saw it live and in fact one time when I saw a guy that normally has a strong twang to his voice get on the phone with another business type of white person, and all that changed.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why I say, I mean, you typically, people know how to speak when they want to know how to speak.
But
they think they can get some money.
I don't mean to make
it a deal
for it, but okay. But I'll say this because I probably definitely code switched when I was, starting out early in my career. First of all, my aunt was a school teacher, and she used to always correct my grammar. So I feel like I'm a lazy talker. So when I'm speaking to certain people, I'm more conscious about it. Like I know I talk kind of fast sometimes, so now my words just kind of run together. So if I'm talking to certain people, I'll try to slow down and enunciate and speak proper English, so to speak, right? Yeah, like it's funny. Like I remember one time getting on the elevator and my manager, he was like, how are you doing? And I was like, good. And then I thought about it in my head, like, oh my gosh, the answer was well. But that's only because my aunt used to always correct my grammar, But I will say another thing too that I found that I do is I think I kind of mimic people that I talk to. So like for instance, if I had talked to you, like, I don't know, like say we kind of like talked on the phone for maybe like 2 weeks or something, like fairly often, maybe 3 times a week for 2 weeks. If you had a certain saying that was like something that people from Detroit said, next thing you know, I'll be saying it just like random.
You'll be saying what up though?
Like you said, like what up though?
What up though? You'll be saying what up though?
I'll be like, Randy, what up though? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like you kind of pick up on things. So I don't know. I think maybe that's why I can understand.
I mean, I get that. I mean, we all do that though. Like, right? Like I mean, shawty is not that's a down south thing. That's definitely an Atlanta thing from my understanding. Like shawty. We ain't say that up north, but I can go up north. I can go to Detroit right now, and I know a bunch of people that use that phrase. You know what I'm saying? So I think we all do it. We catch lingo from people, and take it and everything. But I mean, it is what it is.
All right, I say that one all the time.
Hey, it is what it is. So number 14, right? Again, going to the dark side of being a billionaire. And it talks about how almost all of them are sociopathically obsessed with money and success. Ooh. Sociopathically obsessed with money and success.
That word.
I'm not gonna lie. I said up there that kind of, when they said that, it kind of hit me like, ooh, because I know a lot of people say I work a lot and do a lot of stuff, and I'm always doing something, and sometimes I do feel like I'm obsessed with trying to be the best I can be.
Okay. I kind of get that. I can see.
I didn't think I was sociopathically, but
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm sorry. Let me clear that up.
I didn't, but I mean, once I heard that, I was like, ooh, maybe I am. I don't know. But go ahead.
No, I mean, because I honestly, you hear words, but it's like, do you really know what that means? So I had to look that one up. And based on it saying antisocial behavior, do you kind of feel like you might do that? Because like when you're so laser focused,
Yeah,
sometimes
I am antisocial a lot of times. I don't do a lot of stuff.
exactly because you're like,
I'm
look, I can
busy,
do that after
I'm
I
busy doing stuff. I'm busy doing stuff. I'm in the process. It's things I want to do, people I want to see, and people I want to hang out with, and stuff like that. A lot of people that I hang out with are very much focused on the things that they're trying to do right now, and we don't get a chance to hang out because they focused, I'm focused, and really that's what keeps us kind of on a level, on a playing ground with each other, because it's like I understand what you're going through,
right.
you understand what I'm going through. The fact that just on some real stuff, I left Detroit on Monday. I left Detroit on Monday. I left my house 6:00 in the morning, Tuesday morning, and I just got back to my house about 3 or 4 hours ago.
Wow.
And now I'm on here with you. And probably once we get off of here, I'll probably sit down for about an hour and start writing and do a little bit of writing or journaling for this book that I'm trying to write. I got a guy coming over here to work on an album that he's trying to make, and I'll be helping him to produce it. And I'm still trying to call people about real estate deals.
Yeah.
And I'm still possibly going to get a job at a local hospital. And so you have all these things you're doing, but at the end of the day, I feel like if I didn't, I know when to crash. I know when to say, okay, it's time to just sit down, go to sleep, and don't wake up for about 8 hours. But until my body say, hey, you got to do that, I push it to the limit.
No, I kind of do the same thing too. I wanted to because the definition that came up was actually like a AI version, and AI is good and all, but I'm gonna go ahead and read it because I don't have time to figure it out.
Okay.
It says a personality disorder characterized by antisocial behavior, a disregard for the rights and feelings of others, and a lack of empathy and remorse. And I'll be honest and say that people could probably say that about me. I think the problem is we look at this as a negative term because this is what they usually say for like killers. Like
sociopath, sociopath.
Like they're really doing crimes because they have a disregard for somebody's life, and they usually feel very remorseful for it, like no emotion, no anything. And so I wouldn't go that far because I'm a very sensitive and emotional person. But I think when I get so laser focused on stuff, it's like I have a goal to make. And to me, it's almost like I'm sacrificing my time, I'm sacrificing my fun for a limited amount of time to make a goal, because once I do that, I'll be in a place of freedom to be able to do what I want more often. And so sometimes that does lead to, like I remember when I was studying for my CPA license and people would ask me to do stuff and I'm like, no, I can't do that. And they're like, I mean, you got to eat, you can't take a break. They really didn't understand it. And I had to just like, I can't care what you think about me not making it, because I know for me, every time I would try to be there for every event, when it was time for me to get back to studying, it would take me days to get like in the mode. Like I would just be so out of focus, but it was also like I had already graduated like 10 years before. So here I am, you're working and now you have to be disciplined enough. Like, let me just say this. Once you get grown and start making your own money, discipline, you don't necessarily have to do it. Now you might be different because, you had a family, but when it's just you, like, I'm gonna do what I want when I want, So that was really hard for me to be like, no, you have to buckle down. You have to get this done, because if you don't finish these remainder sections in 18 months, then you're going to have to repeat the first section. And I think the stress of having to do all that over again, I was like, no, like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't care like that you told me about something at the last minute and I'm not going to drop everything to come and do it. So I don't know. Like now you got me kind of thinking. I can see where somebody would say that, but I also notice that people will assign labels to you when you don't do what they expect you to do. And that's another reason I just ignore that. Like
That's true. That's true. People will
I don't do what you asked me to do.
Asshole.
Right, exactly. I mean, I told you the truth.
Yeah. All types of stuff. I mean, I've heard asshole for myself that I'm an asshole at times. And I own it. I'll be like, yeah. I mean, we all got one, and everyone needs one in their life to get the shit out. So I'll be that. That's fine.
Tell you, my brother. I told him that one day. He said something to me. I was like, "You're such a," I was like, "You're an asshole." He was like, "That's all right. I'll take it. At least I ain't a whole ass." I like it. I like it. But I mean, I think we all. I think people that. So my favorite stories. Michael Jackson, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. My favorite stories are some of theirs because, like, Michael Jackson sat down and wrote out his whole plan of how he was going to become this great artist, and he followed it. And most people that talk about him in the studio and talk about his preparation for shows and stuff like that, you would say sociopathically obsessed with making sure that it was a success. Michael Jordan, almost broke down in tears on The Last Dance and had them cut the tape because, he talking about how he just wanted to win so much. And if you didn't want that, then you never understand what he was going through in his head. Kobe Bryant talked about how it didn't matter what was going on. At 4:00 in the morning, he was up at the gym, and then he would do that for 2 hours, go do whatever he had to be, and get back to the gym again at like 8:00. Go do that, and then get back again at the gym at 12:00. He's working out 3 sessions a day before most of us are even getting into the day. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's sociopathic. If that's sociopathically obsessed, and it led to one person getting 5 championships and being considered the best player in the decade of the 2000s, another person getting 6 championships and considered the GOAT. And we know what Michael Jackson is. If that's what it takes to be a success, then I almost don't. It was almost like Eddie Griffin when he was talking about Joe Jackson beating him. He was talking about Joe Jackson beat them kids into success. He said, I got mad at my mom. I was like, why you ain't beat me more? And so, it's the thing of what are you willing to give up to be a success? And a lot of times we're not willing to give up those things. And yeah, you want to spend time with your kids and stuff. I would love to spend more time with my boys, but my boys have things that they're trying to get done. And if I don't go to work, and even going to work sometimes don't mean nothing because it's just enough money. So if I don't go to work, if I don't try to do these things like this, if I don't try to get real estate deals done, if I don't try to write this book that I'm trying to write, if I don't try to do studio sessions with people, if I don't try to do the other things that takes time away from seeing them, then they don't get to do some of the things that they get to do. That's true.
And so, they don't get a chance to see or network with some of the people that they're able to network with because of the schools that they go to.
Right.
That's the give or take, right? You do want to be in a place, but I'm quite sure there were times when Kobe probably wanted to go and do stuff with his daughters, but he had a game to play.
Right.
Quite sure there were times Michael Jordan wanted to go do stuff with his sons and stuff and his daughter, but he had games to play. And I'm quite sure a lot of these billionaires that's out here, they want to do stuff that, I don't think most people, I'm not one of these people that think that people with money are evil. There are some, but there's also broke people that's evil too.
I was gonna say too, because when we talk about sociopaths, I see why they might say that because there are some that will like sacrifice. And I hate to even bring this up, but Detroit, and I'm thinking Flint isn't far from there, but like how that water was contaminated
Yeah.
and they didn't care. Like, so if you're sacrificing like your own time, I think that's one thing. But when you're sacrificing like the health and safety of another person at that point, like what are you really in it for? And it's interesting because I did see something, like it was an article, I didn't read it, but it was talking about I think it was like Jeff Bezos and someone else. I don't want to like quote it, but I want to say Elon Musk. But they were saying like the myth of work-life balance. And they're saying like there is no such thing.
There's
like
no such thing as that.
And I'm like, at that point, I get what you're saying, but I feel like you need to balance. Like, no, you might not be able to be there for every game. You might not be able to be there for every event.
There's no such thing as that because there'll never be a balance, right? You're going to always, Jeff, there's never going to be a balance. You'll be there for some games, but that's still not a balance, right? Because your kids going to want you to be there for every game, which is still not a balance, right? Because you can't be there for every game.
But the balance is being there enough. And I say that because
what's enough mean then? Because enough for you may not be enough for the kid.
I know that, and I'm going to give you my perspective, even though I don't have children, right? So
you
can tell me what you think after I've said what I said. But I think, like, I've heard stories where a lot of children, like, they don't ever wish there was, like, when this time has passed and they're looking back at memories, they're not thinking like, dang, I wish I would have got that toy for Christmas, or I wish I would have got such and such, right? Now, I do understand that there are certain opportunities that you are trying to make available for them. So they are equally as important as your presence. But I feel like that's where the balance is coming in, where it's like, look, I'm not going to be able to make this, and actually having a conversation about it. Because I was just talking to somebody else about like, sometimes you grow up when it's just like, look, I can't do this. And I said what I said, like, it's a very authoritative parenting. And it's like, I'm the parent, don't question me. This is what it is. I know what's best, without an explanation. And so I feel like when you have those explanations and you kind of respect I think it should be mutual. It shouldn't just be I'm the parent, respect me. You should still respect children. Now, I'm not saying let them run things and make decisions, but in terms of this is what we're doing, I'm not gonna be able to make every game because the reality is bills got to be paid. And that's what I'm saying, to the point where they actually understand it. Like, you know what? I know this game was really important and I really practiced for this game. So can you make it to this one? Because I know like you got responsibilities. You're taking care of the whole household. So I know you can't show up for everything. And I appreciate everything that you do. And I understand your sacrifice, but can you make it for this? That's why I feel like the balance comes in. It doesn't have to be 50-50.
Okay. I'm going to segue that real quick. Okay.
That's what I want.
That's your thought. I'm going to segue it into something. The next number is 15. And next number let's watch what I'm about to do.
Okay.
The next number is 15. The next number talk about the two most important billionaire tier skills: decision making and the art of persuasion. So what you just talked about is making decisions and being able to persuade your child into believing or thinking differently than what they already think.
From thinking like a child, right? So they can go into.
I have to be able to persuade them into understanding that dad can't be there for everything. I'll be there for the things that I can be. And sometimes the things that I want to be there for, I won't be able to be there for still. Because unless I am a multimillionaire and I have systems where I don't have to be there for the money to come in, I have to be there for that money to come in. So that means I won't be available to you. And I try my best to explain that to my children as much as I can, and do those things. And then you can make choices. You make a decision. The decision becomes, for some people, I remember a guy telling me one time, you can only be great at so many things.
Yeah.
So are you going to be a great father? Or are you going to be a great businessman? Are you going to be a great whatever? Or are you going to be great as this? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times you can't be great at both. And that I believe that's where the work-life balance comes in. That I don't think just because you're not great at something don't mean you can't be good at it though.
Yeah.
You ain't just because you're not great at something don't mean you gotta suck at it either. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I may not be great at this, but I can be good at it.
That's a good point. That's something that I'm learning because I am definitely an overachiever, overthinker, and kind of like we talked about work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like just go above and beyond just because of what I know I'm capable of.
Yeah.
But then when you do have your hand in a lot of different pots, so to speak, it can get very draining. And I read somewhere that sometimes you have to be good with good enough. It's kind of like that 80-20 rule, right? Like what does it say? Like 80% of your, I don't want to misquote it, right? 80% of your results come from like 20% of your effort or something like that. Like it doesn't have to be 100%. Like nobody's perfect. And I think that's the problem. Like you're striving for like, what they shoot for the moon, land on the stars. But sometimes it's like good enough.
and going back to what you said about the kids, right? That's what a difference is. Like you said, if I go to the kids and I say, it's because I said so. But if I go to the kids and I explain to them, that's me being I can't be great because I can't be at everything.
Right.
A great father in their mind would be at everything. But if you teach them these things and as they get older and they have to live life, they'll understand what you had to go through.
Right.
And especially if you taught them well. I've listened to a lot of adults talk about their parents. I ain't even gonna lie, even when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I read it with the thought process like, you know, I didn't have a dad at home with me. In the ones that were the stepfathers that were there that end up being there at some point were not the best examples of what to do either. And to hear Robert Kiyosaki talk about his dad, his actual dad, in the way he talked about him, you know, originally when I first read it, I couldn't read the book because I was so angry at the fact that you talking this man, at least he was there.
Right.
I didn't even have one. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that part was, you know, hard. I had to go back and read the book again when I was a little bit more healed, right? And understand that, you know, he was just coming from a point of view with money. I still think that he was a little hard on old dad. I think he was a little hard on him, but that's his situation. That's something he got to deal with. And if you ever pay attention to Robert Kiyosaki, he is he has a lot of assholish ways to him in the way he talk, right? So, you know, or lack of empathy, right? So you know, that's that, right? I just think that decisions are important, and being able to persuade people to follow you or being able to persuade them to do the things that you want them to do or understand where you're coming from is also important. Those two things, if you can do those two things, it will help you to build business and help you to get people to come and work with you, be on your side and do things. And that's including your kids, your family, if you're married, your wife. And, you know, and a lot of times we don't have that gift of gab, that gift of jargon, that gift of being able to speak to somebody and get them to do what you want them to do.
I'm not even gonna lie. I don't even know if I have it because I was the type of person that, you know, back in the day when you would go shopping and you had salespeople that wanted to help you. I was always like, no, like I don't need no help. I don't need you talking me into anything. So I think I also approach my business like that. Like, look, I'm going to give you the information. You either want it or you don't. I'm not like trying to sell people, but I'm realizing that no matter what business you're in, you have to have some type of sales skills. And like you said, the persuasion. Like, so I'm with you on that. Those are things I'm going to work on myself.
So look, that was 15. They did give us 16th one, and we kind of talked about it already.
All right.
They talked about that the average billionaire portfolio has little to no life insurance. It has lots of business interests and a small amount of liquid money. They broke that down again to let you know again that If you're trying to get to that level, the further you get up, the more business interests you need, the less life insurance you're gonna need, because now you have these businesses to pass down for them with the money, and you don't need all this liquid money because you're gonna use assets and stuff to get more liquid money when you need it.
Yeah, cash is not king.
Huh?
I said cash is not king.
Cash is not king. So there's a book now. I remember we used to always say cash is king.
Okay.
There's a book now called Credit is King.
Money instead of using yours.
And other people's money is always what you're trying to use, right? To get where you're going. The problem, again, going back to what we talked about earlier, the problem for most African American, Black people, people of color, whatever you want to call it, the problem is a lot of time is it's hard for us to use other people's money because the other people don't want to give us no money, even when your credit is where you need to be at. So I remember listening to this guy. He was talking about something. See, you ain't got to worry about race because he was a Black guy. Of course, I'm quite sure he was a conservative, Republican conservative. No, the way I'm talking, most people would think. I just want people to know this. Most people think that I'm a Democrat or whatever. I don't prescribe to any of that, because I think it's wrong. It's some wrongs on both sides of the table. Like I always say, there's a left wing and there's a right wing, and they both need to flap for this eagle to fly. In meaning that they both are equal in keeping this eagle afloat in the way that it is. The system is not broke. The system is definitely working the way it's supposed to work. This is how they wanted the system to work from the get-go. But we can get into a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother thing. But with those 16 keys or 16 traits of a billionaire, secrets that billionaires do, just give me a quick overview of what you think.
I think it's a good starting point. I feel like, people should pick one or two and work towards them. And I know you kind of moved away from this topic, but I'm just going, since you asked what I think starting with fixing your credit to be in a position to leverage other people's money is a good start. Because if I had to have cash for a lot of things that I have acquired over time, I would probably have nothing. It allowed me to be able to make things more affordable. I like holding on to my cash, and it's funny because I say cash is not king, right? But it's like I don't want to. Like I've never put. Well, I say that, but I think I told you I put like $500 down on one car, but I've never, and that's because they kept begging me. But I never put money down on a car. I was like, no, like I can drive it off the lot tomorrow. It could be totaled out. And then I don't have my $5,000, but gap insurance for usually about $200 to $300 gonna take care of the loan. So I keep my money in my pocket, and I'll pay the little interest over time. Like I think when I bought my car, because I'm a nerd, so I actually kept an amortization schedule, which shows you a breakdown of every payment, how much is going to be interest, how much is principal, right? Mm-hmm. And it ended up being about like $2,000 over 5 years. I'm okay with that, to keep my money in my pocket. So I know you said that there was still some discrimination going on even when you had good credit, but I feel like when you have good credit, you can challenge that and actually make people be more.
Oh yeah, no doubt. You can challenge. You can challenge. I'm not. Anytime I say that, I'm not trying to take away from the fact that you can challenge. You can challenge, but I also always want people to remember that, and remember that we do live in a world where there are challenges to being broke and challenges to being Black and broke. and so fixing your credit helps you to get to that level that you're talking about. I didn't try to move away from credit. I just kind of
want to go down the rabbit hole of like all the things. Like I didn't want to go back to the rabbit hole, but I would just say that that's the one thing that I feel like take that. And I feel like, because I know for me, I'm not even going to say it was my credit, because like I said, I didn't grow up in a household where people had information. So there was no information to pass down to me. So a lot of the things that I learned were through trial and error. And even I was telling somebody this the other day. It was about 3 years after I graduated college. Now with an accounting degree. and my credit score was like 580, something other like that. Like I had horrible credit because I didn't know anything about it. So I think that's why I'm very passionate about telling people, because I know that even though accounting doesn't really have anything to do with credit, I mean, literally we're just managing people's books and, revenue, expenses, balance sheet, right? So it's nothing really with personal finance. But if I didn't know that as much as I do know about money, I know that there are plenty of people that don't know it. So I just feel like you got to start with that. And I think I was looking at my credit card balances and I started paying stuff down and I started saving. And once I saw that growing, that opened up possibilities for me. So I just feel like that's what people should start with, and then figure out, like, out of all of these tips, where do you feel comfortable? Like, do you want to start investing in a stock here or there, or do you want to start a business? I know we talked about Chick-fil-A, and maybe that's not the franchise for anybody because, like you said, you don't own the assets. But I feel like I don't want to say it's an entry point to investing. And I don't really know how that works. Maybe if you do franchise, you have to have it for like a certain amount of years as a commitment. But at the end of the day, you're already confined to somebody else's brand and like their image, and they want you to stay in line with that so it can be cohesive and not like damaging their brand. So you don't really have much flexibility with that anyways, But I mean, like, hey, it could help, get to something else. It could open up your mind to, what, I want to open up a different type of restaurant. I want to open up a Jamaican restaurant. So I just feel like start somewhere and be pivot, right? Be open.
Yeah. And that's why I said I wasn't trying to shit on Chick-fil-A. I know it sounded like it. I wasn't trying to
right. Honestly,
but for me, if I'm a franchise something and it's something I buy it and it's running good, and a year later I pass away, I can leave it to my kids, and you can't do that with Chick-fil-A.
Right.
That was important to me. You don't know what's gonna happen, and I put all this money into this thing, and now they can't take it over and keep it running so they can make money.
Right.
So especially somebody like me that has an adult child and I have little children, that adult child could take that. I could have been showing them how to do everything, and now if something was to happen to me, they can take it and run it, or at least have systems in place to run it,
right?
And that way, it's yours. That was just my thing with Chick-fil-A, but I totally agree with you. Start somewhere. But that goes back to what with me. I think out of all these things, my number one thing was the last one, 15, decision making and being persuasive, being able to get your point across, and get people to follow your point. I think if you can make decisions, which is maybe Chick-fil-A is the one for you to start with, make that decision and stick with that decision and make it work. And be persuasive enough to get people to come work at your Chick-fil-A and make that thing go and get it going so that you can use whatever money you're making from there and put it into something else. Because you do get paid. Now, at the end of the day, you are making money. So It ain't like, what I'm saying? It ain't like at the end of the day, you are getting paid. You getting paid. And most of those owners are making good money, especially after about the first. Once they get through that first year, going into that second year, they start seeing a lot of profit. They start getting into that third year, they're really making good money most times, because Chick-fil-A does have a proven method. But again, make a decision. It may not be Chick-fil-A, it may be something else. There's many things that you could be doing. You just got to figure out what's right for you and what's working for you.
I agree. And to piggyback on that, I think the decision needs to be, what do you really have an interest in and a passion for? Because if you're just doing it to be a millionaire, billionaire, you're not going to stick with it. Like when you have to put, like, how everything that you're doing, I feel like you can only sustain that because you have a passion for it. But if you didn't have a passion, it's like, I don't feel like doing that today. I got 5 other million things on my plate. So it has to be something that you really feel like you're interested in doing. And with Chick-fil-A, I knew you weren't talking bad about them, because based on your situation, and that's the point, make a decision based on your situation. For your situation, doesn't make sense, because in the example you gave, if something happened to you, that's not going to be something that's going to be able to replace your income. Like, it might be a payout for whatever you've been able to do, but it's not going to be able to go on that going concern. So, and so even though it talked about when people moved into that billionaire status, they didn't have life insurance. I feel like that could be something that somebody could do. I don't know if that was in 1 through 7, and I just kind of forgot. But because again, I think we talked about it briefly, like being your own bank and being able to pass income.
We talked about it. We spoke on it last time. Yeah.
But being able to pass income down tax free, like it depends on what your goal is. Like, so mine, even though I do that, that wouldn't even be typically a priority for me. That's why I kind of started later in life doing it, because at first I'm like, I don't have kids. Like, I don't, and I hate to be selfish, but it's like people don't need to have a big payout on me when I pass away. Like, I got money in my savings account, bury me, move on. But it's like, no, like if you can pass down, like I know it can have benefits for me while I'm here, and then it will be an opportunity to pass it down, something to my family, so it can help the next generation. So again, it's so many ways. I just hope people like pick one that sounds interesting, research it, see if it's something that they can do that day to work towards it, and give it some time.
There you go. There you go. And with all that being said, Sasha, tell them how to get in contact with you and what you got going on.
I'm just working. Follow me on Instagram at Spice Realty.
All right, same here. Follow me on Instagram, Randy R. Graham. Also, if you click the link on my bio at Randy R. Graham, you can get to all the other information that you need to find out about me. As I said, I am in the process of writing a book. I'm not going to say what the book is about. It is a fiction novel. And I also have a book that's already on sale on Amazon. It's called Think Success. If you look up Think Success by Randy Graham, you can find the book, pick it up. I think it can help. I got little tips and stuff that you can use to just what I would say change your life. I've used those tips to do things for me that has changed my life. I'm not saying everything don't always go the right way. Everything don't always go the way you want it to go. But if you can stay positive and keep your eyes on the goal, you can definitely make it. That's all I have for this week. You got anything else, Sasha? Anything? Nothing coming up that we need to know about or nothing like that?
Nothing I need to know about right now.
All right. Nothing coming up this way that I can talk about either. Besides, like I said, stay on the lookout for this book. I would say, huh?
That's exciting. That's enough. Talking about nothing like that's something.
Stay on the lookout. I'm trying to. It's a process. Just trying to. This is my first time doing something like this. I mean, I think I did tell you that I wrote a screenplay. I have not shot that screenplay at all, but the few people that I've let read it have said that they think it's great. But this book is something different for me. But it's been an ideal in my head for a while, and I didn't know if I was going to try to write it as a screenplay or a book. And I decided to try to write it as a book because I felt like I couldn't get everything into a screenplay.
Okay.
So it is a 3-book series. So
can't wait.
So yeah, so I'm trying to get this first one done, at least at the rewriting phase around about January. That's my goal. The goal could change just depending on how things go. But I do want to try to get that part done by January, where it start getting edited and see what I need to fix in it, and hopefully we can have it published by the summer.
Whew. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. That's amazing, because I'm exhausted just from my one little business. I couldn't even imagine doing all the things that you're doing. But
you know what? What's his name? I want to say it was Les Brown always talks about dying empty. Always used to talk about dying empty. I mean, I don't know what he be talking about now. Is he? I know he's still alive, but I ain't seen him do nothing lately. But yeah, dying empty. Making sure you put it all on the table. And so I'm trying to get it all out. As I don't plan on dying no time soon, but when I get an idea, I try to go ahead on to go for it.
Oof. Yeah, I'm tired.
Well, look,
I'm doing a lot, but mine, I've merged mine into like my business, right? helping people like myself that kind of come from humble beginnings, that, you know, you start making money, but you don't really know what to do with it in order to grow your money, right? Like a lot of times we make more money, we spend more money. That's how it's okay.
More money, more problems, right?
Exactly, right? More money, more spending. That's what I call it. So it's just like helping people invest their money in some way, which is how it started with real estate. It's like I believe in real estate, but I know a lot of people are scared right now because of everything that's going on. It's a lot of uncertainty, but I feel like if you have the interest, it's worth meeting with a professional that can help you figure out like what is best for you. Are you buying for personal purposes, or are you looking to invest? And if you are, either way, you need financing.
And remember, number 9, real money is made in the crisis.
Exactly, right? Exactly, because with a lot of homes sitting on the market right now, if sellers have to move for whatever reason, like they might have to sell mama's house, they don't want to move across country, they might have a job, like no matter what's going on in your life, the complete opposite could be going on in somebody else's, right? You might not be able to buy, but there are people out here buying them up.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, just open up your mind to it, whether that's like, you might not think that you can even afford to get a loan. So reach out to a loan officer like myself to see like what you qualify for. And even if you're thinking about buying a year from now, at least you know what position you're in and have a plan. Like maybe you do need to pick up more hours. Maybe you do need to pay down debt. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with it. And
so what we need to do one day, because we have not done this, what we need to do one day is we will have a show where you go over the step by step of getting a loan for a house. Okay. Because we'll just do a regular conventional or FHA loan, one of those two. Just a regular loan to buy a house, what you need, what you should be looking for, and what you should be looking for in a loan officer.
That'll be like a 15-minute call, but okay, we can do it.
You think that would be? I think I can get you talk longer than that.
I mean, yeah, you're right, but I guess it's like at the end of the day, everybody's situation is different, right?
It is. So it is. But like, I want you. We're gonna get you to talk about it. So this is the other thing I want to say too is anybody that's listening, anybody that comes across this video, if you have a business and you want to talk about business with us and explain what you do and give me a shout out, DM me at my IG, or you can give me a call on my page again, 404-438-7113. Any business, any real estate people, any type of business, it doesn't matter what it is, and you want to come join us on here and talk about your business and give us some insights into your wealthy thoughts. Let's do it. Let's collaborate.
I agree. Collaboration over competition.
All right. Now, holla at you later, Sasha, and thank you again for coming on with us.
Thanks for always having me, Randy.
All right now.
Let's get them. Up in him is like venom. Every serum they send them, they can't stop his addendum. This is my referendum. Ray Kane's momentum is monumental, and the Yomi team is coming with him. Get him. Pass me them things. I spaz out on the game, mic in hand. I'm Vicodin. Numb to the bullshit when I'm writing, man. The Christ in him got me playing Messiah when I spit science through the wire. But I'm not K West, just on a straight quest to see K Michelle's breast. Okay, what the hell? I'm just appealing to my lower desires, acquired by the porn of America's fire that inspire disrespect of my queen's entire God and status. Got a community in madness havoc. We thinking we niggas, not niggas. We thinking we got figures, but them dollars not backed enough. I'm not backing up. The conglomerate is dominant, all the music is prominent. Everything else pay homage to ancestral promises. And I'm just getting started. And to all you whack motherfuckers, my condolences to the dearly departed.